Welcome to Love Lies Chronicles.
I'd really appreciate your comment. It helps me understand if you enjoyed the story and how I can improve in future ones. I can tell you the exact moment our marriage became a transaction. It wasn't a fight. There were no raised voices, no thrown objects, no dramatic exits into the night. It was a Tuesday around 9:15 p.m. The kitchen was clean. The house was quiet. And she was sitting across from me on the sectional, scrolling through Instagram like she always did. The dishes were done, dinner containers already in the recycling. The local news played on mute in the background. I could smell the lavender room spray she'd just used, hear the neighbor's sprinkler system cycling through its routine outside our Aurora home. Everything was normal. Perfectly, devastatingly normal. I turned to her. Not out of pressure, not out of desperation, just a genuine desire to connect with my wife. "Do you want to come upstairs with me tonight?" She didn't look up from her phone. Just let out this light sigh, the kind you make when someone asks you to take the trash out while you're in the middle of a show you're barely watching. Then she said it, calmly, emotionlessly, like she was reading a grocery list or checking off a chore. "I think once a month is enough." I blinked. My brain couldn't process what I'd just heard. Wait, what? She finally looked at me, and I swear to God, there was nothing behind her eyes. No anger, no sadness, no embarrassment, just complete apathy. Like she was discussing which coffee brand to buy or whether we needed paper towels. Intimacy. Physical stuff. Once a month is plenty, don't you think? I stared at her, waiting for the smile, the laugh, some small indication this was sarcasm or some kind of dry humor she thought would land. Her expression never changed. Dead serious. She really meant it. She had just scheduled our intimacy like a dentist appointment. That's when something in me, something I didn't even know how to name, cracked. Not broke, not shattered, just cracked. Like a windshield after a stone hits it just right. Still whole, still functional, but fundamentally compromised in a way that can't be repaired. It's hard to explain what that kind of moment feels like to someone who's never lived it. Your stomach drops. Your breath catches somewhere between your chest and throat. Not from fear, from humiliation. From the stunning, gut-wrenching realization that the person you love doesn't see you as a man anymore. Doesn't see your need for connection, affection, or desire as something sacred or even reasonable. Just annoying. Optional. Inconvenient. Like a task that takes up too much space on her mental calendar. I didn't know what to say at first. I just sat there, frozen in that split second, feeling more rejected in my own living room than I'd ever felt in my entire life. I had heard of couples growing apart, of passion fading over time, but this was disdain wrapped in casual indifference. I stood up slowly, walked to the kitchen like I was moving through water, poured a glass of water with hands that were shaking just a little. Not from rage, from shame. Deep, cutting shame. I stared out the window into the backyard, listening to the distant sounds of life continuing outside our walls. Lawn mowers humming. A dog barking down the street. A car pulling up across the way. Normal life. Everyone else's normal life. Behind me, silence. She hadn't followed me. Hadn't asked if I was okay. Hadn't cared that what she'd just said had sent a dagger straight through the chest of our relationship. I came back in and sat down again. This time on the far end of the couch, as far from her as I could get without leaving the room entirely. "You know how that made me feel?" I asked, my voice quieter than I intended. She shrugged. Actually shrugged. "I'm just being honest. Honesty doesn't mean cruelty." She sighed again. Tired. Bored. Like the conversation itself was a burden she hadn't signed up for. "I work. I have a life. A lot going on. Honestly, I don't think intimacy should be expected like it's a scheduled service." A scheduled service. That was the exact phrase she used. As if wanting to connect with the woman I vowed to love, the woman I'd built a life with, wasn't human. It was just inconvenient. An expectation she resented. I didn't argue. I didn't yell. I didn't insult her or call her names or throw things or storm out. But something shut down inside me that night. Something important. Not my love for her. Not yet. But my hope. My trust. I realized in that moment that I could no longer trust her with my vulnerability, with my desire, with my emotional need to be seen and wanted by the person I chose to spend my life with. I was no longer a man in her eyes. I was a fixture. Something to be tolerated. Something to be scheduled. Maybe once a month. I slept on the couch that night. She didn't ask why. She didn't even look up from her phone as I grabbed a blanket and pillow. And as I lay there staring at the ceiling, watching the fan cast slow-moving shadows on the walls, I whispered something I'd never said before. Not out loud, just in my head, but it felt like a vow. If once a month is all I'm worth, then once a month is all you'll get. The days after that Tuesday night blurred together in a strange, muted way. She went to bed like nothing was wrong, like she hadn't just quantified our intimacy down to 12 times a year, like she hadn't reduced our marriage to a utility bill she'd rather not pay. Meanwhile, I lay awake night after night, processing. Not angry. That was the strange part. There was no rage building in me, no fantasy of getting even, no list of things I wanted to scream at her. There was just nothing. Emptiness. The kind of silence you feel in your chest when you realize the person lying in your bed doesn't actually see you anymore. Not really. Maybe they haven't in a long time. I started noticing things I used to ignore, patterns I'd explained away or made excuses for. How she smiled at her phone more than she smiled at me. How she never asked how I was doing unless it directly related to something she needed from me or her day. How I could be gone for hours, sometimes half a day, and she wouldn't notice or care, but if I forgot to buy the specific brand of almond milk she liked, it became a whole conversation about me not paying attention. She treated me like a utility, like the electricity or the internet. Expected to be there, working in the background, but only noticed when something went wrong or stopped functioning. And I had finally read the meter. Most people think betrayal is cheating. They imagine someone else, secret texts, lies, hotels' rooms. But there's another kind of betrayal that's quieter and somehow cuts deeper, the betrayal of neglect, of emotional starvation, of making your partner feel like they're asking for too much when all they want is to be wanted. All they want is to matter. After that night, things didn't immediately explode. We didn't have some climactic argument. She thought the conversation was over, settled. But for me, it had just begun. I began withdrawing. Slowly, methodically. I stopped trying. Stopped making jokes in the kitchen while we cooked. Stopped texting her during the day with random thoughts or links to things I found funny. Stopped reaching for her hand on the couch. Stopped asking about her day with any real investment in the answer. Each day I became quieter. Not silent from pain anymore. Silent from clarity. Because the most dangerous man isn't the one who yells and breaks things. It's the one who no longer feels the need to explain himself. One morning, about 2 weeks after that Tuesday night, I was brushing my teeth and staring blankly at the bathroom mirror when a single sharp thought cut through all the fog in my head. She doesn't think you'll ever leave. That was it. That was the realization that changed everything. She'd grown so comfortable with my consistency, my softness, my loyalty, my willingness to keep trying, that she assumed no matter how little she gave, I'd keep showing up, keep begging for attention, keep playing house while starving inside. She thought she could ration affection indefinitely, and I'd just accept it, adapt to it, be grateful for scraps. Something else in me shifted right then. Something colder, stronger, more resolved. I didn't yell at my reflection. I didn't write a dramatic letter. I didn't give her a speech about what I was planning. I just made a quiet decision while staring at my own tired eyes. If she wanted me once a month, then once a month is all she would get. Not out of spite, not out of revenge, out of self-respect. The first weekend I left, I packed a duffel bag early Saturday morning, clothes, laptop, a few books, toiletries. Simple. I walked past her at the kitchen counter where she sat drinking coffee in her robe, scrolling through her phone like she did every weekend morning. She didn't look up. No kiss goodbye. No, where are you going? No, when will you be back? Just silence. Just absence of curiosity. I drove to a small Airbnb I'd found in Morrison, about 45 minutes outside the city near Red Rocks. Nothing fancy. Just a quiet cabin-style place with a deck and a view of the mountains. Just space that was mine. I spent the entire weekend there, reading, cooking simple meals for one, working out, taking long walks, watching the sunrise alone from that deck. And for the first time in months, I slept through the entire night. No cold back turned toward me in bed. No forced silence hanging in the air. No tension so thick it made my chest hurt just being in the same room. Just peace. Simple, quiet peace. Sunday night around 9 p.m., I came back to our house in Aurora. She barely reacted when I walked in. "Everything okay?" she asked, glancing up from her phone for maybe 2 seconds. "Yeah." "You eat?" "I did." "Okay." That was it. No curiosity about where I'd been. No warmth. No affection. No, I missed you. Or glad you're home. Just those few words, then back to her phone. Inside, I smiled because I knew she hadn't noticed yet what was happening. But she would. Eventually, she would. I did it again the next weekend. Packed my bag Saturday morning, drove to Morrison, spent 2 days in peace, came back Sunday night. Same non-reaction from her. Same lack of questions. The third weekend, same pattern. By the fourth weekend, she started asking questions. Not many, but a few. You going somewhere again? Yeah. Where? Out. Her brows furrowed slightly, but she didn't press. She still thought I was in a mood. Still thought this was some passive-aggressive pouting because of our conversation weeks ago. But this wasn't pouting. This wasn't a mood. This was discipline. This was a plan. By the 1-month mark, I casually mentioned I'd rented a small apartment near the Denver Tech Center. Easier than driving back and forth for work stuff, I said. She nodded absently, half listening. The truth? It wasn't for work. It was for distance. For space. For creating a life separate from the woman who had once begged for my presence, and then, slowly, treated it like a burden she'd rather not carry. Month 2 arrived. The first Friday evening, I showed up at our house in Aurora. My scheduled visit. My monthly check-in. I walked in to find she'd cooked, not pasta or leftovers or takeout, but a full, elaborate dinner. Steak, roasted vegetables, a proper salad, wine poured into the good glasses we'd gotten as wedding gifts and barely used. She greeted me at the door in a dress I hadn't seen in years. Makeup carefully done. Hairstyled. She looked beautiful. More effort in that 1 hour than I'd seen her put in during the entire previous year combined. Smells good, I said, walking past her to set my bag down. She smiled, trying to catch my eyes. I thought we could have dinner together tonight. Like old times. We sat. The food was actually good. I told her that. She laughed softly and reached for my hand across the table. I let her take it. Didn't pull away. But inside, I felt nothing. Absolutely nothing. Because this wasn't love. This wasn't genuine affection or connection. This was fear. She was starting to feel it. The shift, the change, the ground moving beneath her feet. After dinner, she leaned in close and kissed my cheek. Whispered in my ear, voice soft and hopeful. Come upstairs with me tonight. I smiled. The same polite, measured smile I'd given her so many months earlier when she'd said, not today, or, I'm too tired for the 100th time. Not tonight. Her eyes flickered. Confusion first. Then hurt. Then disbelief. Then something that looked almost like panic. I stood, placed my plate carefully in the sink, and said calmly, Thanks for dinner. It was really good. I'll see you next month. That was the moment. The exact moment she realized I was no longer reacting emotionally. I was responding strategically, not with drama, not with punishment, not with anger, but with balance, with boundaries. She had set the standard. Once a month. Fine. Perfect. I'd match her rhythm exactly. I'd be there once a month. Present physically, cold emotionally, completely controlled. By month 3, her desperation had become palpable, like something you could almost touch in the air. She texted daily, multiple times a day sometimes. I miss you. When are you coming home? Can we talk? This isn't fair. Please call me. I responded minimally. Sometimes hours later, sometimes not at all. At the apartment. Next month. Busy. Okay. The monthly visits continued like clockwork. I'd arrive Friday evening, stay through Sunday afternoon, then leave. The rest of the time, the other 28 days each month, I lived my life. My real life. The one without her in it. Gym every morning before work. Dinners with friends I'd been neglecting. Hikes in the mountains on weekends I wasn't visiting. Concerts. Books. Peace. A life without her constant weight on my shoulders. Without walking on eggshells. Without wondering which version of her I'd get today. She couldn't understand it. During one of my monthly visits, she asked point blank, Where is this all coming from? Why are you being like this? I looked at her calmly, my face completely neutral. You said once a month was enough. I'm just respecting your boundary. Her mouth opened, but nothing came out for a moment. That's not, I didn't mean. But you said it. And you meant it when you said it. During week 3 of month 3, she called me back-to-back 5 times while I was at the gym. I didn't answer. When I checked my messages later that evening, there was one line waiting. You're seriously not coming home this weekend? I stared at it for a long moment, then typed back. Monthly visit isn't until next Friday. Didn't you set that rule? She left me on read for hours. But I knew she saw it. I knew it landed exactly how I meant it to. Month 4, week 3, Thursday night, around 8 p.m. I was in my apartment near the Denver Tech Center, making dinner, when I heard knocking on my door. Insistent. Urgent. I opened it to find her standing there, eyes red and puffy, makeup smudged. She'd been crying. "What are you doing here?" I asked, not moving aside to let her in yet. "We need to talk. Right now." "I'll be home Friday. That's in 2 days." "I can't wait 2 more days, Mitchell." I stepped aside and let her in. She looked around my apartment slowly, taking it all in. Clean, organized, peaceful. Photos on the walls of me hiking, at concerts with friends, living life. A whole existence she wasn't part of and didn't even know about. "You've built a life here," she said, her voice breaking slightly. "A whole life. Without me." "Yes. You can't keep doing this." "Doing what?" Her voice rose. "This. Punishing me. Coming home once a month, like I'm some obligation you have to fulfill." I stayed completely calm. "I'm not punishing you. I'm respecting the boundary you set." "That's not what I meant when I said that. You know that's not what I meant." "But it is what you said. And you meant it when you said it. You didn't stutter. You didn't apologize. You just said it like it was the most reasonable thing in the world." She stepped forward, hands shaking. "I don't know what's going on with you, but I swear to God I feel like you're seeing someone else." "I'm not." She looked almost more upset at that answer. "Then why? Why won't you come home? Why won't you talk to me? Why won't you?" "Because it's not home anymore," I said quietly. "It's just a house where someone used to love me." The words hung in the air between us. She started crying harder. I didn't move to comfort her. Because I remembered, vividly, painfully, all the nights I'd cried silently in the dark in our bed while she slept peacefully next to me, completely unaware or completely uncaring that I was breaking apart right beside her. Month 5 arrived like all the others. My scheduled Friday evening visit. She was waiting at the door when I pulled up. Opened it before I could even use my key. "You came," she said, like she'd been genuinely worried I wouldn't. I said I would. The weekend was a performance. She cooked every meal, dressed nicely every day, tried desperately to laugh at my comments, to start deep conversations, to connect in any way she could. But I was a ghost, physically present, sitting across from her, responding when directly addressed, but emotionally I was somewhere else entirely, somewhere she couldn't reach anymore. Saturday night after dinner, she sat close to me on the couch. Too close. Took my hand in both of hers. "Do you remember our first date?" she asked softly. "Yes." "We stayed up all night talking. Just talking. You said you'd never felt so connected to someone, that you'd never been able to just be yourself like that with anyone else." Silence. I didn't respond. "Mitchell, do you remember that?" "I remember a lot of things," I said finally. "I remember the last time you looked at me like you actually wanted me there. I remember the first time you sighed when I tried to kiss you, like I was bothering you. I remember every single not tonight, and every I'm too tired, and every time you chose scrolling through your phone over talking to me. I remember all of it." Tears spilled down her face. "I'm sorry. God, Mitchell, I'm so sorry." "I know you are. But sorry doesn't fix this. Sorry doesn't undo it." "Then what will? What do I have to do?" "Nothing. There's nothing to do. You can't unsay what you said. You can't unfeel what you felt for all those months. And I can't unlearn how to live without you. I can't unbecome the person who doesn't need you anymore." Sunday morning, she came to the guest room where I'd slept, where I always slept now during these visits. I was packing my bag, getting ready to leave. "Is this really it?" she asked from the doorway. "Are we really over?" I stopped packing and sat down on the edge of the bed. She sat next to me, but not close. There was space between us that felt like miles. "We've been over for a while now," I said. "You ended us last September. I just finally accepted it." "I didn't end us. You did. When you reduced our marriage to once a month. When you made me feel like loving you, wanting you, needing you was inconvenient. When you stopped seeing me as your husband and started seeing me as, I don't even know what. A burden. A chore. Something to be managed and scheduled and minimized. But I want to fix it now. I want to try. Can't you see that I'm trying? Now? That's the problem, isn't it? You want to fix it now. Now that I'm gone. Now that I'm not begging anymore. Now that you feel what I felt for so long. But where were you 6 months ago? 8 months ago? Where were you when I was dying slowly inside our marriage and you were just living your life like nothing was wrong? She couldn't answer that. Later that morning, we sat at the kitchen table one last time. The same table where we used to eat dinner together when things were good, when we were happy, before she stopped seeing me. Tell me the truth, she said. Is there any chance for us? Any at all? I paused. A long, honest pause. Then no. Her breath caught like I'd physically hit her. Just like that? Just no? Not just like that. This took months. Years, actually. Years of me trying and you pulling away. Years of me asking what was wrong and you saying nothing. Years of me showing up and you wishing I wouldn't. You're never going to forgive me for saying that, are you? For saying once a month. I already forgave you. That's why I can leave. She looked confused. What does that mean? It means I'm not angry anymore. I'm not hurt anymore. I'm not even disappointed anymore. I'm just done. And that's worse for you, isn't it? You'd rather I be angry. Because anger means I still care enough to feel something. Do you still love me? I was honest. Brutally, completely honest. I love the person you used to be. The woman I married. The one who used to look at me like I was the best part of her day. But she's been gone for a long time. And I don't think she's coming back. I stood up and picked up my bag. She was crying openly now, not even trying to hide it anymore. I love you, she said desperately. Doesn't that count for anything? I paused at the door. It would have. 6 months ago, 8 months ago, a year ago, it would have meant everything. But you can't wait until someone is walking out the door to realize you want them to stay. That's not love. That's fear of loss. That's panic. That's regret. But it's not love. Mitchell, please. What about what I want? I asked quietly. What about what I needed all those months? I didn't know. You knew. You just didn't care. Not until it affected you. I looked at her one last time. Really looked at her. You got what you wanted. Once a month. You said it was enough. You just didn't think I'd actually match your energy. You thought I'd keep begging forever. But I learned something important. When someone shows you who they are and how much you matter to them, believe them the first time. Month 6 came. First Friday of the month. My scheduled visit. I didn't show up. She texted around 6 p.m. Are you coming? I replied hours later. No? I think we're done with the monthly visits. Please don't do this. Please. I didn't respond. The next message she got came from my lawyer 3 days later about next steps. About divorce. About making it official. 2 months passed. Then 3. I moved into a larger apartment. One that actually felt like home. Started actually living again. Gym every morning. Reading again. Books I'd been meaning to get to for years. Hiking most weekends in the mountains. Dinners with friends who kept saying, "Man, you look different. You look lighter." What changed? Everything changed. I changed. I dropped the weight of a marriage I'd been carrying alone for too long. One Saturday morning in late November, I was sitting at a coffee shop in Wash Park. Cool air, sun streaming through the big windows. Reading a book, actually relaxed, actually content. A woman accidentally bumped my table, spilling a little of my coffee. "I'm so sorry," she said, genuinely apologetic. I looked up and smiled. A real smile. "No worries at all. Happens." She noticed my book. "Oh, I love that author. Have you read his earlier work?" We started talking. Easily. Naturally. About books, about life, about nothing and everything. She laughed at my jokes. Actually laughed, not polite chuckles. Asked questions about my life, and actually listened to the answers. An hour passed like it was 10 minutes. "I'm here most Saturdays," she said, standing to leave. "Maybe I'll see you around?" I smiled again. "Yeah, I'd really like that." After she walked away, I sat there with my cooling coffee and realized something profound. I'd felt more genuine connection in 1 hour with a complete stranger than I had in the last 2 years of my marriage. More seen, more valued, more human. 3 months after the separation became official, I was unpacking the last few boxes in my apartment when I found our wedding photos. I sat on the floor and looked through them slowly. Not with sadness, not with anger, just with understanding. We looked so happy in those pictures. We were happy. Once. A long time ago. People ask me sometimes if I regret how it ended. If I wish I'd tried harder, fought more, stayed longer, been more patient. And I tell them the complete truth. I don't regret the ending. I regret how long I let it continue. How many years I spent begging for crumbs when I deserved a feast. How much of myself I sacrificed, my dignity, my self-respect, my sense of worth, for someone who wouldn't have crossed the street for me. She taught me something valuable, though she didn't mean to. She taught me that love without respect is just obligation. That presence without engagement is just cohabitation. That marriage without intimacy, emotional or physical, is just paperwork, just a legal arrangement, not a partnership. I don't hate her. I really don't. I don't even think she was malicious or deliberately cruel. I think she was comfortable, complacent. She thought she could keep me at arm's length indefinitely, and I'd just stay there, waiting, hoping, diminishing. She took my loyalty for granted until it was gone. The cruelest thing she ever said wasn't, "Once a month is enough." It was the assumption behind those words, that my need for connection was unreasonable, that wanting to be wanted by my own wife was asking too much, that I should be grateful for whatever scraps of affection she bothered to throw my way when she felt like it. I learned something crucial through all of this. The opposite of love isn't hate. It's indifference. And once you reach true indifference, once you genuinely stop caring, there's no going back. You can't unring that bell. You can't unfeel that absence of feeling. I learned that withdrawal is sometimes the only healthy response to repeated rejection. That matching someone's energy isn't revenge, it's self-preservation. It's protection. That walking away isn't giving up, it's standing up. Standing up for yourself when no one else will. My phone buzzed on the kitchen counter. A text from the woman from the coffee shop. Her name was Grace. "Coffee again this Saturday? I'd love to hear more about your hiking trip." I smiled, really smiled, and typed back, "Absolutely. Looking forward to it." I set my phone down and looked around my apartment. My space. My peace. My life. The silence that used to suffocate me, that used to make me feel invisible and unwanted, now held possibility, held potential, held hope. The marriage died on a Tuesday night at 9:15 p.m. when she said 5 words I'll never forget. But I didn't die with it. I learned something I should have known all along. When someone shows you clearly, consistently, repeatedly that they don't value you, believe them the first time. And when they finally realize too late what they've lost, you don't owe them a second chance. You owe yourself a better future. The silence I used to beg her to fill with warmth and connection and love now belongs completely to me. And it's not empty anymore. It's not lonely. It's full of peace. And that peace, I've learned, is worth more than all the once-a-month love in the world.
Dear listeners, please share your thoughts in the comments, and do not forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel.